Hey there, welcome back to part 2 of the top 10 lies that your anxiety is telling you right now. And before we dive back into the list, do us a favor, just cast your mind back to when you were a child and you were outside one day with your friends or maybe your brother or sister, and they decided that they were going to play a joke on you, and just for shits and giggles they were going to hide behind a tree and wait. Okay, and there you are, bopping along, enjoying the day, and then all of a sudden they jump out from behind the tree and shout "boo!" and they give you a proper old school scare, yeah, the kind you see in the movies, where you jump out of your skin and you scream blue murder and you swear and all sorts. And I'd like you now to just have a quick think, cast your mind back. How did it feel in your body in that moment? What was going on physiologically? So how were you breathing? What was your heart doing? What were your legs doing? What did they feel like? I imagine that your heart was beating 10 to the dozen and you were breathing fast, and your legs probably felt a little weak or like jelly, and maybe that you had a little churning in your stomach, and probably you had a lot of racing thoughts. What the hell's going on? Now, physiologically, what's happening is your body is getting you prepared to either fight with the danger or to run away from it, the fight or flight response. So immediately, and I mean straight away, as soon as you got that shock, your brain communicated with other parts of the brain, danger. We need to either fight or flee, essentially. And so you get a shot of this stress hormone, the fight or flight response hormones, adrenaline, norepinephrine, and that enables your muscles then to cope with the situation. And what you might not realize is that in that moment, every single one of your senses, your sight, sound, taste, touch, and olfactory senses were all heightened, all elevated to enable you to cope with that threat, every one of your senses. And then you realize, Dave, it's just Dave, Dave, you lunatic, you nearly gave me a heart attack. What are you doing? Oh, you see the relief. It's just Dave. What a prick. Yeah, and so what happens then is the irrational cortex in your brain sends the message back to the amygdala, no danger, it's just Dave. No danger, the threat has passed, there is no danger whatsoever. And then what happens then is all your senses return to normal. And it happens quite quickly. And your heart rate comes down, starts to slow down, your breathing starts to slow down, you start to relax, the threat has passed, and you can relax. No danger, no threat. 5 minutes later, it's like it never happened. Now imagine, if you will, that right in that moment of shock, in that moment of hyper-arousal of senses, where all your senses are heightened to enable you to deal with that threat, imagine that right in that moment you got stuck for weeks or months. Well, that is what we mean when we talk about anxiety disorder or stress disorder. It's a prolonged but temporary stress response hyperstimulation. A stress response hyperstimulation. When the body can't calm down, but keeps sending these signals of danger, keeps you maintained in this state of constant readiness to deal with a threat that does not exist. Keeps flooding your system with these stress hormones again to deal with a threat that doesn't exist. And you're manifesting symptoms and sensations that are frightening, very frightening, debilitating, and interfere with a normal, healthy life. Now, the good news is that the way your body recovers from anxiety and the way that your body recovered from your friend frightening you are exactly the same, with only two differences. Number one is time, and number two is intention. Now, when your friend frightened you, it took your body absolutely no time at all to recover from that shock. Your brain realized that there was no threat, and it sounded the all clear and allowed your body to calm down. You did not have to give it lots and lots of time. You did not have to work at it like you do with recovery from anxiety disorder. However, the net result, the process is exactly the same. But you have to intentionally calm the body down. You have to intentionally teach the brain that there is no need to keep sounding the alarm every 2 seconds, to keep sending you these signals of threat that doesn't exist. You have to intentionally underreact to these symptoms and sensations that you're getting. And when you do that, when you intentionally underreact to the condition, and you retrain the brain that you're safe, there's no danger, nothing to be alarmed about, and you do that for long enough, I mean this will take time, and persistence and perseverance, you will recover. Recovery is inevitable when you do this work and you give it a long enough period of time. Which is why lie number 5 is preposterous. And here it is, lie number 5, you will never recover. Now this is the lie that is probably the most believable the earlier you are in your recovery, and it's the lie that makes early recovery so damn difficult. Because if you've been at your recovery for a while and you're seeing results, you know that that's bullshit. Yeah, you won't believe that because you've seen it, you've felt it for yourself, your body is calming down. And it does. But if you haven't seen any results yet, and as I say, it doesn't matter what program you've got, you won't see results early on. If you expect to work your program and see results in a fortnight or a month, then you will start to feel this doubt creep in, and you'll think, shit, maybe I'll never recover. Maybe I'll be the one special case that doesn't recover. You see, lie number 5 is not helped by lie number 6. So number 6, you're the worst case. Now, again, this lie is ridiculous, okay, it's laughable. But it goes together with lie number 5 because it's like your anxiety is using this as fucked up evidence to support its case, and it's the only evidence you've got. You see, number 5, you'll never recover, that is a core fear. It's a core fear, it's an underlying fear. It's what you're frightened of the most is not recovering. But when you try and think for evidence to support that lie, the only thing your anxiety can come up with is, well, I must be the worst case because my symptoms are so severe, or because they're just so unexplainable, or because it's been going on for far too long. But you see, it wouldn't matter if you were the worst case because you know you're going to recover, right? So who cares? It's when that makes you believe that you won't recover, then that's what's frightening. So you see, believing that you're the worst case is driving the fear that you'll never recover, but it still doesn't make it so. Now when I say this to my coach, and I put it to him, I put this to him on a fairly routine basis. It's kind of how we start our sessions. I say, I'll never recover. And he says, oh, right, okay, we're going to do this again. We're going to do this now? Okay. And he gives me the speech. And this is the speech. He says, what makes you so special that you believe you'll never recover, when everybody else that does this work recovers every single time? What makes your body so special? And I go, well, I think I'm the worst case. And this is the only time I ever see my coach laugh in our session. He throws his head back and he laughs like a musketeer. And he says, you the worst case? You're not even the worst case today. Put that from your mind. Everybody thinks they're the worst case. Everybody. And everybody thinks that they're going to be the one that's going to somehow slip through the net and not recover. Rest assured that everybody who does this work recovers. And everybody's body recovers the same way. It will take time, but if you stay the course and don't give up, you will recover. Time for one more? Yeah, we've got time for one more. Okay. This time, cast your mind back pre-anxiety. And you've been invited to a dinner party. Now, normally you don't care for these things, but you know the host really well. It's your best friend. So you think, okay, I'll go to the dinner party for my best friend's sake. So you turn up, you talk to the host for 5 minutes, and then they bugger off and talk to everybody else. And you're left standing there, nursing a flat beer, very much the wallflower, looking around thinking, God, I don't know anybody here. And everybody else knows everybody else. And then you get this feeling, this sort of very subtle voice that says, maybe you'd be safer somewhere else. And this is line number 7. Maybe you'd be safer somewhere else. And that's an interesting choice of words. Now that is pre-anxiety, when your shyness, that feeling of sort of being awkward in a social setting, is actually a feeling of unsafety. But it's perfectly normal and natural. It's a natural thing. And then if you fast forward a few years, and there are many different roads into Anxiety City, maybe you've literally worried yourself sick and now your whole body is involved in the worry process and you've gotten problematic high anxiety. That voice that told you, or maybe you'd be safer somewhere else, it's not whispering, it's screaming. Your anxiety is screaming at you that you're not safe. And when your anxiety is telling you that, it becomes very important to remember 2 things. Number 1, your anxiety is not bad. It is not a bad thing. I know that that's so difficult to believe, but it is not a bad thing. It's actually a survival instinct, your survival mechanism. And it only has one job, and that is to protect you. The problem is that it's doing such a bang-up job, it's actually doing too good of a job to protect you. And that's why it keeps sounding off the alarm at inappropriate times. And the other thing to remember is that you're safe. And that feeling that you're not safe, no matter how strong it is, no matter how loud that voice gets, it's only a feeling. But if you look around, 99 times out of 100, you're safe. You're absolutely safe. It's just a feeling. And I know how loud that voice can get because I've been listening to it all day. I've been listening to it every day for a while. But the point is, you're safe. And feelings are not facts. I know we go by our feelings so much as anxious personalities, but feelings are not facts. And you don't have to feel safe to be safe. Now, one of my coaches was a combat veteran who came back from a war zone with PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. And he told me he couldn't wait to go back because he felt unsafe at home. He felt less safe at home than he did in a war zone because he was able to carry an M16. And it wasn't that he felt safe in the war zone, it was just that he felt it was a more sort of familiar danger, familiar to him. And he went back twice. That's how unsafe he felt back at home. The guy from American Sniper went back 4 times. This is how, when your body is stressed to the degree that you have this problematic high anxiety, that's how unsafe you can feel, just in the most normal routine of places. And I decided I wanted a definitive answer to this question, once and for all, the question of safety. So I put this to Jim Folk on anxietycenter.com, and you can listen to it. It's on the Skype call from April. I put it to Jim Folk that I know I'm safe. I know for a fact that I'm safe, but I don't feel safe. He said, and you won't. Not until your body calms down. And in the meantime, learn to tolerate the discomfort. Even though you might not feel calm, you can still behave calmly. You don't have to act how you feel. Really focus on getting your body stressed down and giving it time. And that's the key, stress down and time. And that about wraps it up for another night here in Anxiety City. Thank you for joining me. And I don't know if you've noticed, but I've been struggling a bit with the work, and I'm comforted by the knowledge that struggling is, well, it's a necessary part of recovery. It is hard work. And so if you're struggling, just know that just because you're struggling, it does not mean that you're failing. Okay, struggle is not failure. And I've chosen a piece from Dr. Claire Weekes from Essential Help for Your Nerves, which addresses this issue. She writes, "Don't wait too long for confidence to return." Now some will say, I know what Dr. Weekes means, but I just could not do it, and that is not good enough. There is no one who cannot do this. You can do it. Do not wait too long for confidence to return. It is regained only when you begin to do the things you think you cannot do. Even if the beginning is so small you can hardly recognize it as a beginning, it is still action. And confidence is built on action. That is why I teach you the hard way, by passing through panic to peace. And it's because it is the hard way that some of you think you have failed so far. Don't blame yourself at this stage if you think you are among the failures. I am asking a lot from you. But the final reward is worth the effort. In the end, you will have the confidence to cope with fear. But this takes time. So take fresh heart. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to take heart. And just know that this is a hard road. And no one can walk it for you. But I'm walking this road with you. Many people are walking this road with you. And there have been many, many people who have already walked this road successfully right to the end before you. So with fresh heart, join me next time for the top 10 lies your anxiety is telling you right now. Good night and God bless from Anxiety City, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.